אחרי החגים זה מאני טיים.
מאני אף.
צריכים הלוואה?
במאני טיים.
רק ישראכרט.
נכנסים לאתר ישראכרט, לוקחים הלוואה היום, מקבלים את הכסף מחר.
ומתחילים להחזיר רק בעוד 3 חודשים.
צריכים הלוואה?
במאני טיים?
רק ישראכרט.
כוכבית 6660.
כפוף לאישור החברה ולתנאי הלוואה ישראכרט מימון בע"מ. אי עמידה בפירעון ההלוואה עלולה לגרור חיוב בריבית פיגורים והליכי הוצאה לפועל.
We are speaking with Cathy Lawi, CEO of Emotion Aid, an organisation that helps people deal with stress and trauma. So first of all, tell our listeners a little bit about Emotion Aid. What exactly is it?
Yes, so we are a non-for-profit, which is called an Amuta in Israel. And we provide services to organizations. Basically, we equip people in organizations like Bet Halochem, hospitals, school networks, with tools to understand better what trauma is about and tools of self-regulation and first aid to others.
So we're now a country that has basically a non-stop war for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
A University of Haifa study found that more than 60% of Israelis who are not directly affected by the war, that means they're not living on, for instance, communities on the northern border or don't have family members who've been injured, still developed acute stress disorder. This is a massive percentage, isn't it, of the population suffering some kind of stress?
Yeah. Yeah, we have, also according to the state controller, we out of an adult population of 6 million, we have 3 million people suffering from symptoms, mental health symptoms, which include post-trauma symptoms, but also depression and anxiety, which, many times are also connected to trauma, to the traumatic situation, traumatic stress people are suffering from in Israel. And out of these 3 million, we have about 500,000 which are already, with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and about 2.5 million people with various level of symptoms and at risk of developing PTSD.
So, first of all, is there any simple tips that can help the average listener who may be suffering relieve the stress or the trauma?
Yeah. I mean, simple tips, it really depends what we're talking about. Here are a few tips. First of all, life is about movement. So what is really important is whatever people experience to keep moving. Go to the gym, go for a walk, just, dance, play with the children, do something which, you're going to, have movement in your body. That's very important. The other thing is to watch for is to make sure that you stay connected to your resources, whatever happens. So a resource can be, something that you enjoy doing, like listening to music or, a show, having coffee with a friend or, favorite food. And it can be also something, spiritual, like, praying, singing, whatever. And it's really important to stay connected to those and sometimes to even develop new resources. This is what people have been doing and or using, for example, a sense of humor when looking at difficult situations, really looking for ways to stay connected to the well-being side of life. Life is a constant movement between what is challenging and what is resourcing us, what feels good. And we need to keep that movement going. So through movement, actual physical movement, and also through staying connected to good things. And then, of course, what needs to be done, and for that you need to, to learn some tools, is to actually release the stress that we accumulate. And in a situation like that, what we're going through at the moment, there is, everybody's going to accumulate stress. There's no other way. And so not hide it and, just find ways to release it slowly.
Do you find particular segments of the population are more impacted when it comes to stress and trauma than others? For instance, men and women, or older or younger people, maybe people from different social backgrounds?
Well, we are especially worried about our children, of course, because since the COVID, it's already a few years. The kids have had, a non-regular life. So parents have done amazing things, and even yesterday, I was with a family and friends, and we had kids with us in a mamad, in a miklat, and the way we sing with them and we play with them, it's really heartwarming to see that. But obviously that population is at risk, and for that reason, we are really looking to train counselors, teachers, to make sure that the people who are going to be in touch with the kids are really, have a toolbox, know what to do, actually both for themselves, but also to help the children. So really our aim is to go towards prevention of, the development of further symptoms, and of course, prevention of post-trauma. So the children are at risk. We are also worried about, because we have actually, in our country, we have about 17,000 therapists and psychiatrists, and so, for the 3 million people suffering from mental health symptoms, the ratio is very low, and we need to keep those people in a good shape, so we're worried about them. I think they really need to have special care. The same for first responders. Right now we are working with Ichud Hatzala and Madha. We can see what's going on, in the field with what they have to go through, and Zaka. All these people really need special care. And of course, right now we're especially worried as well about the populations in the north that have gone through repeated attacks, and they have zero time to get into their miklatim and mamadim, and are under constant attack from Hezbollah right now. So yes, we're some populations are more at risk than others. And
do you find differences between men and women?
In a different way. Like during the war, where we have a big difference, but doesn't necessarily affect the outcome, is with the fact that men have gone to miluim, like extended periods of miluim, of being in the army as reserve soldiers, and this has really been a very heavy load on mothers and on families. So, but men are going to be affected in one way because of their reserve service and whatever's going on in the army, and women are going to be affected maybe more from burnout or from just exhaustion and being without support for extended periods of time. And we know that this has been also a problem for couples, in the last few months. So yeah. And in varying ways, they're affected differently.
And how would you assess the response of the state, of the government, when it comes to providing for mental health services during this unprecedented period?
Yeah. So let's start with the positive. On the positive side, what we can say is that things have changed a lot, in particular with our soldiers. There's much more of awareness when it comes to post-trauma. It's more accepted. It's less of a stigma that it used to be. When you were affected by trauma in the Yom Kippur War, you probably never really got help, and you suffered from it, and the family suffered from it, and all your environment and your life and your capacity. Today, it's the awareness is much better. And I think the Army and the Ministry of Defense have done an amazing job in that respect. When it comes to treatment, because I think we need to differentiate between treatment and prevention. When it comes to treatment, there is progress. We have a long way to go. And also, what I can say is that I think we're suffering from a kind of conceptia in the world of mental health, in the same way we suffered from a conceptia that led us to October 7th. We spoke a lot about that, and the concept, things need to change. We need to equip people with tools. We need to work more on the prevention, on self-regulation, on really making the whole population aware of what can be done, and also introduce new tools and new therapies. That's in terms of the treatment. In terms of the prevention, very little is done because not much is available, and we are very fortunate and privileged emotionally to be in that segment. And so remind you the figures I told you before, like 2.5 million with symptoms not diagnosed yet. We need to really take care of those people, and this is going to take place through community centers, wherever we are meeting the population at large, and wherever people who are, trained as resiliency agents can help others, can orient them towards what can be done, can give them simple tools, like ours, to make sure that further symptoms do not develop. So that's what we can say at the moment. Now, what happens when there is a huge crisis like the one we're going through right now, and you mentioned acute traumatic stress, which is actually, you're right, it's what happens in the first 1 or 2 months after a traumatic event. Right now, we're still in the war, we are in danger, the danger is not over, so we cannot really take stock of what's happening. And what happens is that actually mental health issues kicking afterwards. Once we feel safe again, and once things have calmed down in terms of the war, that's the time when we can start counting Béhémet. And I'm afraid that the numbers are going to go up.
That's my next question. How long will it take after all this all ends, assuming it will all end eventually, for at least most people to return to normal life when it comes to mental health, or some people, or will a lot of people, unfortunately, be scarred for life?
Yes. I think it depends how things are managed and what people are, what kind of support people are able to get. I give you a figure that is a known figure for soldiers. It's the minimum that it takes a soldier to go and seek for help. I'm talking about a combat soldier that went through trauma in the army, in the field. It usually takes about 4 years for them to go and seek for help. And so it's going to take us, it will decrease slowly because time is also a resource, time helps. And we're an extremely resilient people in Israel, extremely resilient. And I think, probably this is a reason why we still exist as a people. And there's also a deeper meaning to that, because probably the hardship we went through helped us, not only become more resilient, but find meaning and common meaning and collective resources and tools that make us a people, that help us gel as a people, that help us, stay connected to life, which is also, the injunction we received, right, from God before we entered the state of Israel. V'rachta b'chaim, you will choose life, and I think we are people who chooses life. We made a tikva our hymn, and this is who we are. So I think it will take time. I'm hopeful and positive that it will take less time rather than, and I think because we are also very flexible and dynamic, and we have this DNA of a startup nation, we will find ways to help others. We will find ways to help our population, and hopefully we will have well-functioning government ministries to help us get there.
אחרי החגים זה מאני טיים.
מאני אף.
צריכים הלוואה?
במאני טיים.
רק ישראכרט.
נכנסים לאתר ישראכרט, לוקחים הלוואה היום, מקבלים את הכסף מחר.
ומתחילים להחזיר רק בעוד 3 חודשים.
צריכים הלוואה?
במאני טיים?
רק ישראכרט.
כוכבית 6660.
כפוף לאישור החברה ולתנאי הלוואה ישראכרט מימון בע"מ. אי עמידה בפירעון ההלוואה עלולה לגרור חיוב בריבית פיגורים והליכי הוצאה לפועל.